Welcome everyone to another Cuppa The Day podcast. I have returned. Wandering in is the itinerant host, and for some reason they keep leaving the doors open and letting me back in. Delighted to be here and joining once again Babz and Jorday. Plenty to talk about this week. A lovely guest to join us in a little bit. But first of all, Babz, how are you feeling? Looking, you got a little bit of a different background going on this time.
Yeah, I do. Stuff is moving along with the podcast in life. So yeah, in a different environment. You won't see the old one anymore, but at least they'll be in the VODs.
Yeah, that's great. And Jorday, yourself, I mean, same background, but
Yeah.
look, sometimes stability is nice. I wouldn't want you both to change at the same time. I'd be very confused.
Yeah, it's not quite the Edinburgh hotel background I had in episode 2 and 3. I do miss that. That was quite the highlight. But yeah, I feel like I'm getting withdrawal symptoms a bit new because I feel like I haven't had one of your zoology facts in such a long time. I'm just curious if you've got one lined up or not.
Well, I don't have any lined up.
There was no warning.
How about the fact that a squirrel can drop from any height without getting injured because their terminal velocity is lower than the speed that they'd hurt themselves at?
I mean, that's a pretty good fact.
There you go, off the top of the dome. Zoology facts. And well, we'll actually dive into the rest of this podcast in just a second here. Plenty to talk about tonight. Release of console, ongoing world tour, and of course a couple of big tournament announcements as well. Before we do any of that, let's introduce tonight's guest. Many of you will know him already by reputation, if not personally. We are joined by I think probably the premier Trackmania journalist at the moment. Marcel Roszyk is here with us, and I definitely butchered the R at the start of your second name there. I know it was meant to be harder than that. Marcel, how you feeling?
It was great, definitely. I'm doing great, and yeah, definitely the premier interviewer and journalist in the scene, definitely. I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, we can run through, some of what you're doing at the moment and your background with the game. But I suppose, yeah, like what you're doing at the moment is you have a YouTube channel, you're posting interviews and things there with the players, and generally very active on Twitter during match days as well, really putting things in context, which I will admit, I've looked at a couple of those tweets during Challenger League cast, and I'm like, ooh, that is an interesting way to look at that.
Well, just trying my best doing it for a year right now, and well, trying to just show some of my work. I always wanted to work in esports, and that's my way of starting out. So glad that I got the recognition.
Absolutely. So let's get into more a little bit about how you've ended up here at the moment. As you say, you've always wanted to work in esports. I mean, how long ago did that start, and when did you kind of get into Trackmania and start to look at that a bit more?
Oh, the esports thing started in 2018 when I watched for the first time the World Championship of League of Legends. I dived deep into this into League, and that was my my whole life at the moment, to be honest. But if we're talking about Trackmania, I started watching the Grand League when it was, I think, fall 2021. Fall 2021. But I didn't even watch it live. I watched it through VOD on Virtual's channel because I was late. So that's how it started, and then from then on, I just watched every week, and it's great. It's great. I just at some point I just said that's the place where I want to start it. That's the place where I can have some sort of breakthrough, and I reached out to Mime as my first guest, and he said yes. So that's how it started.
Yeah, and we're all very grateful that you chose to do the interview in English rather than in Polish, because I think it would have lost a lot, for the rest of us here, even if it maybe would have been more comfortable for both of you.
I think actually we did the first interview. We actually did in Polish, but
okay,
you might have not seen it. Actually, we did it in Polish. So yeah, but then I said that doesn't make sense. So let's just switch it to English for the future ones. But yeah,
it would be very funny seeing you try to interview Moda in Polish though. I'd be fully there for that.
Oh, that would be great.
10 out of 10.
Yeah, no, yeah. I'm just so glad to have Marcel on today, because it feels like forever that I've just been going into your DMs saying, oh, I've got something cool coming up, I'd love you to be a part of it, and then it's like, yeah, I'd love to. And then finally, we're in a call together, because I don't know, this is what I love doing with this podcast, is getting those interesting people out of the community, getting them in a call with us, and just chatting about what we love. So it's great to have you.
Thank you. And yeah, finally we worked it out. and here I am. Glad to see you guys for the first time, finally.
And look, we've added another person who probably watched the 2018 League of Legends World Finals Championship live to the roster. So now there's 3 of us. So you know what? It's Babz completely outnumbered. And honestly, it's great. We'll just continue to add that. But no, we're going to focus on Trackmania. No time to talk about League of Legends. Jorday has changed his name from _lol to _TM. We're focused, okay? And we're going to dive into a deep roster of topics tonight because, as we've said, plenty of interesting things going on at the moment. And I think the first one, the big one to talk about here, is the fact that the game has been released on console. No more console when finally, although that thread of Softy saying it and then getting absolutely flooded with 2v2 wins was an all-time moment. Absolutely fantastic. Look, we all joined in. It was a lot of fun. But I mean, Marcel, first of all, just like first thoughts, the game's finally on console.
Oh my god, I don't even know what to think. I'm so new to this that I haven't even thought about the impact it could have. But from what I've heard, from what I've seen, it's definitely positive, and I'm glad that there's just a new way for people to get into Trackmania and start their journey in this great game. But yeah, so far I'm not really so much like informed about the state of the console Trackmania gaming, but I think it's from what I've heard, it's going great and the impact is good. So that's what I know so far.
We should probably just do a quick check round here, first of all, as well.
Yeah.
Who here actually owns a console that can play Trackmania?
Not me.
All right, anyone? Oh, Marcel, listen, you better be the best informed. All right, you get on that.
I haven't played yet, but I might do that in the future. But yeah, so far, not yet.
Yeah. I think there's a really interesting point that you raised there because you said you were watching virtual VODs of the TMGL back in early 2021 and stuff. I mean, I know I definitely started watching virtual content. That's what really made me want to pick up the game, even though I'd seen it around a few times before. And I think he has a very large audience, a lot of whom still don't actually play the game. So it just being more accessible is only going to be positive. It's only going to drive more people to actually try the game now that it's easier to access.
Yeah, we've actually seen that, like, from personal experience in the ATN Discord. There's players who have joined since the console release and who've been saying like, "Oh, it's so nice to like finally be playing Trackmania. I can be part of the fun," and it's just great. It's super weird though because people are getting access to it who didn't have it before. So from like my own experience, my girlfriend, who's very like supportive of everything I do in esports and often is hiding in the background somewhere whilst we do these podcasts. So she actually finally was able to try Trackmania on her console, and one day she just sent me a message and she was like, "Oh, I hate map 14 on the campaign," and I was like, "What the hell is happening?" These are
worlds are colliding.
Yeah, exactly. I had to like check myself for a minute and just be like, "Whoa, what is happening?" But at the same time, like it is extremely cool because so many more people are able to benefit from like what we enjoy on a daily basis, and it can only be a good thing. It looks like it is going well. Trackmania just announced that they've hit 5 million players, which is a huge milestone. But I also think it's a stepping stone still for the game because there's a lot more progress to be made.
Yeah, I felt one thing you mentioned there is how you said your girlfriend obviously enjoyed map 14 on the campaign, and a couple of my friends have got engaged with the game as well ever since it's come on console, and both of those have said how much they've enjoyed the campaign as well. And obviously, for them, I guess they don't really have other maps to compare it to. That's all they know. But it is interesting to see how maybe Nadeo hit the mark with this campaign. You could argue with people enjoying this semi-easier, faster style campaign, because that's what's going to appeal to the newer player, right? Realistically, drifts are going to scare people away. I imagine the majority of the player base. So. Yeah.
Like anecdotally, I definitely had a couple of friends who picked up the game on PC before, and like they'd be a week or two in and just going like, "How do you drift?" It's the one thing I don't like. I can't figure out how to drift. Like they'd see someone playing the game and be like, "Whoa, it's like dark technology they have here, like getting around these corners quickly." And yeah, it's I think especially funny, Jorday, because so many people were complaining about the campaign before the console release. Right, the established player base, I think we all know it, right? Hated the campaign, like really did not go down particularly well. But as you say, a new wave of players coming in, it seems to have hit the mark for them.
Yeah.
which is a lot of fun. And performance on the consoles seems pretty good as well. I mean, Marcel, the only person here who can fact check that at the moment, and clearly didn't put in the work before getting here, Marcel. I don't know, like, did you not get the full 3-page email that we sent you with preparations?
Damn, I must have missed it. But hey, when you invite me back when 2v2 matchmaking is on, then we can. Then I'll definitely get prepared. Sure.
It's fair. Listen, my email address of loudguy69 does get put into a lot of people's spam folders. So you know what, like, it's fair enough that didn't make it through. Oh, great. Honestly, you shouldn't click on that. I lied. That's not my real email address. If you're getting a real, I'd worry about that. And so look, like you said, Babz, there is kind of more people now coming into the British and Irish Trackmania server, which is great, because that was one of the questions we asked on the podcast before the console release, was saying, like, are we actually going to see engagement with existing communities from these new players? Because it's a little bit harder, right, if you're not a PC gamer, to maybe find your way onto Discord, which is where a lot of the communities are. And it's good to hear that it is starting to happen.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a natural progression. So you said, like, virtual has such a large audience, and probably the majority of them don't actually play the game, and that'll probably continue to be the case. But there will be a large sum of them who are going to now have access to it and will start playing it. And I think it's natural for, like, it's probably what we did as well, is you play the game a little bit and then you've played it and you're thinking, all right, this is fun, and I'm playing against myself, my own times, against these medalists. But then I'd like to compete against these other players that actually, like, I see on the leaderboards, and then that's when you go looking for these discords and things. And obviously everybody has a different way of accessing these discords. But, like, yeah, as you said, like in the BITM Discord as an example, we're getting close to hitting 700 members now, and like every single day you've got more and more people coming in. So I'm sure it won't be long until we hit 1K, which is honestly quite impressive. Like, for a British and Irish Trackmania Discord, like having 1,000 members. Like, granted, some of those are, not British or Irish, but the majority of them are, and the majority of our community is extremely active and continues to be on a regular basis. And yeah, I think it can only be a good thing to have more people being a part of that.
Yeah, I mean, subtweeting Birdie and Mime there, I think, that members of the community aren't there, who aren't British or Irish on that one in particular. And look, one of the other things that does make a scene more accessible and getting into a game more accessible really is the ease of getting into the pro scene. Marcel, you talked about how League of Legends pro scene, like, really made you want to get into esports more. Equally true for me, I'd imagine for Jorday as well, to a degree, just like seeing that top level play. But part of that does come down to how easy it is to understand what's going on and how good the information out there is. And that's sports journalism, right? Like, that's where it comes into it, is having people actually providing good auxiliary content to the main event.
Well, that's exactly what it is. But yeah, I'm just well, I lost my train of thought. Sorry.
Happens to me all the time.
Blanking right now. I'm sorry, I'm blanking right now. You gotta go on.
No, don't worry. Like, it's more, like, because you are one of the few people who is kind of putting content out there that is specifically focused on the pro scene, right? Like, there is plenty of Trackmania content out there, a lot of random map challenges, a lot of, I played whatever maps, or I did the campaign in this, or like map discoveries. But in terms of, like, specifically looking at the pro scene and, interacting with the players there as well, helping them get their personalities out in ways that aren't just their streams, you're one of the few people who's kind of in that space. I don't know if you can even think of anyone else who's doing anything similar to you at the moment.
I mean, at the moment, no, but before, of course, it was my predecessor, Eirik, and now I'm the new Eirik Jr. And yeah, definitely, it's a great way to like transfer the information about the inner workings of the pro scene of esports to the general public. And like, while I like loved the interviews on the other scene in other scenes that more so went into depth into the stories of players and stuff like that, I definitely see the value, like great value, of going more into like discussing the matches in depth and getting some more information out of players. So yeah, trying to like help people understand like what's going on in the matches through players.
That's, speaking of story, it's going to be a great story when we get the first World Tour Pro who started on console. We're a couple of years away, right? Probably, but that's going to be a very cool story.
That's good. and I think it's likely to happen. Like, the player base, as time progresses, should be larger on console than it is on PC. As time passes. So
how consoles work, yeah.
yeah, exactly. But at the same time, like, I don't know, will performance limit that? I don't know, because like, are those World Tour maps, are they too big for consoles to manage? I don't know. It seems like performance hasn't been an issue at all for the moment. But I just wonder, maybe going forward, if you're trying to get into that competitive scene, if that could hinder you somewhat. It's funny because I mean, for my sins, before being into Trackmania, I used to play Fortnite, probably like a lot of people. And this was back when I was.
Babz,
I mean,
you poor thing.
You played League of Legends, come on.
Yeah, none of us are like to stand on Jorday.
But yeah,
I can't argue with that.
I mean, this was when when I was a teenager, when Fortnite was all the craze. But I remember, I was into competitive from the start, but I was only on a console, so I tried to do my best. But as you can imagine, like, Fortnite as a game, when you get into those like lobbies with 100 people, you're obviously going to have better performance on a well working PC
Yeah, like
compared to yeah. So you can only get so far, and then kind of your skill capped. I wonder, is that gonna happen the same in Trackmania? I'd say probably to a lesser extent, but console could probably be a very viable way into that competitive scene, and then players progress from there and maybe go on to PC and become.
I think probably a really good example is Rocket League in this case, where it has been crossplay since basically the beginning, but you essentially don't see any pros playing on console, right? Like, a lot of players started on console, got very good there, and then because they were getting a bit more serious or wanted to get a bit further, they make the jump over to PC and they get a gaming PC, and it all takes off from there, which I think that's possibly the direction we see it going.
I mean, this is relatively easy considering that most of the pro players play on pad anyway, so starting on console and then transition to PC is just the screen size difference, like nothing else.
You have to sit closer to it, exactly. Yeah.
I wonder if they'll ever get to the stage where I don't know if the difference between playing on console and PC is that much, but I wonder if they'd ever get to the stage where they would do like console specific tournament based stuff. Do you know what I mean? I know they're already kind of, I don't know if it's true or not, I can't remember who said it. I believe they're split, well, they give you the option to turn off crossplay, right, if you're on console. So that would mean you have your own Cuppa The Day, which is solely on console and doesn't involve the PC players. So there's already that kind of, I guess, segregation between the PC and the console players. I wonder if they'll ever get to the stage where they would introduce, I don't know, a console TMWT kind of thing. You never know, but...
I like
the grimace from Marcel is exactly how I feel.
I feel like this is a good idea for starters and not for like major events. Like give them some tournaments for smaller scale to just let them get a taste of the esports, of the pro scene, and then like you can't really make the best of the best league with like not even a half of the game's population. Like you need the crossplay. You need to like combine them all to see the best of the best. So I feel like this is a good gateway to start to start getting people interested in those kind of things, and then it might encourage them to join and switch to PC and stuff like that.
I actually have a question that I don't know the answer to, and I'm wondering if anyone does. Are any other inputs supported on the console versions, or is it just gamepad?
No, it is just gamepad.
It is just, you can't plug in even a wheel that would work with other games on the PS4 or PS5.
Oh, actually, a wheel probably.
Yeah,
that's
I didn't think of a wheel. The keyboard came up immediately, but wheel, yeah, probably Granady would smash everybody.
Yeah, it's just like driving slightly drunk. You've got the 0.5 second brain lag. It's 0.5 second lag on thing. It's going to be interesting to see for sure. Competition was brought up there as well, how that is going to look for console players, and we should probably talk a little bit about Track of the Day, because that is going to be a lot of new players' first real taste of any kind of competition in the game, right? Like it's very easy to jump into a Track of the Day server in the evening. Probably going to be great for my ego, a few divs higher than I used to be potentially as new people jump in, or just more divs below
There'll
me.
be more divs.
Yeah. Either way, higher up, all right? Better percentile. That's the main thing. But with that said, there's been plenty of discourse about the Track of the Day maps over the last while. They seem to have been trending a little bit easier as well, right? And maybe that's linked to the same way this campaign was a little bit easier. They're just going for maps that they think are more accessible to the new player base.
I think that's exactly it. It's there's been a strong focus from the dev team on this console release, and it seems like they've been working on it for quite a while, to the point where other projects may have been left to the side, like that 2v2 matchmaking. And I mean, they've put their hands up and said, yeah, that is the case, but you can't really fault them for that. It is a massive thing for the game and its progression. But yeah, at the moment, they announced 10 Track of the Days in a row have been specifically made for this period by mappers, and it looks like each one kind of has their own flavor. So I remember that one that was made. I can't remember who actually made it, but it was like a World Tour style map with kind of techie grass sections with some World Tour scenery, but kind of a very simplified version.
There was the XLRB map, and there was also the Kiesler map.
I think it was the Kiesler map,
yeah,
with the horrible gear at the end. Yeah,
yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
But yeah, they kind of have that trend, and I mean, it is really good that they're focusing on that. It's probably making it a lot more enjoyable for some of those newer players who are coming in. It's a lot less difficult to understand. Turn left instead of bug slide right into jump drift. But at the same time, I see a lot of the players who've been around for longer and who really enjoy Cup the Day, who've kind of been not participating as much recently, just because I don't know, it doesn't seem worth it. Like the maps aren't as good, and maybe you've got a competitive map to be practicing, and you just think, well, I've got an hour here. I prefer to put it into my comp map instead of playing the relaxed Cup of the Day. So yeah, I'm not too sure about it at the moment, even though I understand the point of view of the developers.
Yeah, it's hard to find that balance. Obviously, you can't please everyone, right? That's the thing that I appreciate Toner for, because I feel like for what he's trying to do and get maps that are enjoyed by literally the whole player base, so at least try and spread it out so it's enjoyed by most of the player base. He does a good job at that, I think. And as you said, these maps are obviously the mappers have been asked by Nadeo to make these maps specifically for the release of console. And I mean that can be seen by not being released on TMX or the Trackmania Twitter announcing a screenshot of the map hours before its release, kind of thing. But they're hiring good mappers for these maps. Obviously, Keys is a well-known competition mapper. You got Ellipsa, XLRB, Whiskey. All of those are great mappers. And so even though these maps are on the easier side to cater to these new players, they're still well-made maps in their own right. So I feel like even for myself, I can find myself enjoying these maps. Yeah, it's hard to find that balance, and it's less about. Obviously, they want these new players to come on and actually buy the game and play it, but they want to. It's more important to retain the player base, right? That actually keeping them here for a period of time is more important than just those first time sales. So, if this is how maps are going to be for the future, then I think maybe it's a good direction to go for the overall game state.
See, I'd have a counter argument for that. Obviously, the opportunity to get it onto console is brilliant, and I think that's a step logical to take. Any of us would have done the same, as the devs have done. But the main influx of players in recent past has been from probably two pillars of the community, which is virtual, which a lot of the English-speaking community would have come from, and the other one is the Raider. And how do they do that? It's either it's by grabbing their audience on social platforms. Like Virtual would have been through YouTube or through his Twitch channel, and Zerator would be through the general French gaming community. And I think those are the players who play the game and who are more who stay around for longer, stick around, like you said, because the topic came up as well of players download the game and then they see a subscription model and then that's it, and they don't play it again. So what is the best for it? I think kind of what Zerator's doing at the moment with the Ascension tournament coming up, which we'll talk about in a bit, is like a lot of people are going to see that from communities outside of Trackmania will attract them to the game. They'll see it live. They'll see the best players playing, and I feel like that gets people more excited than just, I don't know, a release video of a campaign with some funky music behind it. Because I don't know, maybe that's just personal preference, but
I do think, and there is a line that this is related to in our notes for the show, which is that the author times are too easy, and that even relatively new players are kind of complaining about them on a lot of the recent Track of the Days. But to me, I think the moment that catches new players and the thing that makes people stick around is that moment when you realize your time is nearly good enough to get the next medal up, right? Like, you know, the classic 2 a.m. text from a new friend who's just got the game, who's like, this gold medal on this campaign track, I've been trying it for 3 hours, I should have been in bed hours ago, but I'm so close to it, I know I can get there, right? And making, for example, the author times much easier than maybe a regular author time would be, or even like, you know, the medals in general be easier. I think there's that moment when it clicks, when you're like, I can get that. And like, that's the feeling that keeps people coming back, is I know I can improve on my previous time, and I know I'm good enough to get that. And I think in particular, like, even if you have players coming in from, you know, big creators and trying the game, it's that click that you're looking for. And the slightly easier Track of the Days may make that easier because players are actually finishing them on their first couple of runs through, and you need to be finishing maps to actually be seeing improvements in your times. And it's the constant self-improvement that is the core gameplay loop for Trackmania, right? That's the bit that's fun.
I think that links in though to what is a constant in the whole community and has been for like the last decade, is that there is a skill tree that you have to go up naturally. So like when you're looking at Carl Jr. winning World Cups, you're thinking, well, he's the best player in the world. Like that's insane. And I'm here trying to beat my little time on this campaign map. Well, I say little, that sounds patronizing, but
no, it's true. That's
it's a stepping stone to like higher things. So yeah, you do that, and then maybe in a couple of days you're like at a certain division and you want to get a bit higher. And like we see this every day with the people we play with. And I feel like making stuff easier for newcomers doesn't make sense, because if us as PC players joined the game and had these normal author medals and still stuck around and still got that thrill from it, then why should that be any different for a player on console?
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. Either way, that thrill of getting there is going to be there, and trying to hunt for a way to make it easier to access is, I think, pretty clearly what they're trying to do, is just to make it so the players can make it through maps and get excited the first few times they start to improve. But you're right, we all got there without that, and so it's questionable how much it's needed. I do want to move on. Look, we only have so many hours that we can fill with this podcast, and you brought up the Ascension Cup, and I would love to talk about that a little bit now before we move on, because it's incredibly exciting. Zerator obviously announced the end of the Zerator Cup in 2022 after selling out the Accor Arena where the 2019 League of Legends World Championships were held, which is, you know, was a massive event, incredibly impressive. Some of the coolest stage setup I've ever seen and stuff. It just very well produced all around, and all of it on just the dumbest maps possible, which I think just makes it even funnier. And since then, people have been waiting to see what the next thing was, and he's announced Ascension, which is going to be an annual tournament. For those of, I'd imagine everyone watching has seen it at this point, but it is going to be an annual tournament. It's going to be a different game every year, but he's starting off with the tried and true, bringing back Trackmania for it, because he knows he can get the audience for it, is my cynical way of looking at it, but also just maybe to do one final thing with the Trackmania community. And it's all being largely crowdfunded. Subs to Zerator are going directly into the prize pool, which is just very cool. And Marcel, I mean, I think it's particularly interesting because it's coming up quite soon. Maps will be released at some point, you would imagine, in the near future. It might clash a little bit with the World Tour, and I know there's a lot of pro players who've already said, yeah, I mean, I'm going to be practicing. I want to go and play in Ascension.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely the practice like times will collide, but overall, if the tournament time dates collide, I don't know.
I don't think the actual
think so.
the tournament dates don't collide, but it's the practice time really is the big thing, you know.
Yeah, but overall, like as a viewer, as like a content creator, let's say, I'm really excited for this. Like the concept is great. The concept is really great. Like the 3 lands, I really wish I would like go to one, at least one, but I don't think I'm gonna be able to. But overall, I love it. after seeing the last year's Zerator Cup, I mean the production, the overall fun of it, the crowd control, it was amazing, and I just really want to see it 3 more times at least, as we get 3 more LANs. And when it comes to the issues with the practice times overlapping, I don't know. I feel like people will still prioritize TMGL overall, Trackmania World Tour. It's kind of the main thing. Maybe some people that are, well, I'm already in the World Cup anyway, qualified, so I guess I might just as well, like, whatever, I'm gonna go for
Ooh.
Ascension this time. So there are angles to go off of, and there are probably some situations like that. Overall, I think teams that are really that aren't really that close to guaranteeing themselves World Cup, they're gonna try as hard as they can in TMGL, in Trackmania World Tour. So I don't think it's gonna clash that much, but maybe there will be some situations.
I mean, new conspiracy theory just dropped. Solary got early access to the Ascension maps, and Pack's just been playing them an awful lot. No,
So that's what's happening.
Yeah, no. We're just throwing nonsense out there now. It's no. It's fine. I mean, look, yeah, Babz.
No, just like one little apology tweet after a bad performance, and go back to Ascension. And
it only takes like 20 seconds. It's perfect. No, of course. I mean, look, Babz, how are you feeling about Ascension? Like, it's incredibly cool.
It's something I'm particularly hyped about because, as opposed to a lot of the English-speaking people who'll be listening to this and around, I actually got into Trackmania thanks to Zerator. It's like a bit about my background. I grew up in France, so I grew up with like Zerator as a streamer and as the king of French streaming, and his events with ZRT and the Z event that he does as well is what got me into Trackmania back in the day, and then more recently, then it was virtual that got me playing more. But like the thing that I love about it is it's just such an incredible event, and it's a culmination of so many things. Like Zerator started off a small streamer, but now he's massive, and he still does exactly what he would do back then, but still does it. Like he wants to make a funky map. He doesn't know too much about mapping. He just enjoys being in the map editor. He does it. And well,
then he makes the best players in the world play it, and
yeah,
the biggest.
and now he has the pull and the funding to do these incredible events. And so yeah, why not? Why wouldn't he do it? And people love it. So yeah, he continues of it, and his legacy, like within streaming, but also just in Trackmania itself. Even though he's not a Trackmania player, is still felt today. Like the maps that we have in TMGL, they have identities because of Zerator. Like whether he wanted that or not, it's inspired by his mapping style, which is crazy to think about. That our main esports comes from a guy who doesn't play Trackmania and just goofs around. And like, if anybody saw that clip of the speed mapping he did, where he just took that one Ascension block, had a straight, which was the length of the stadium, and all you could hear was, and it's brilliant. But the thing is, the only issue I have with it, and I made a thread on Twitter like talking about this, is that the whole event is stuck behind a language barrier. And the reason for that, like, it makes sense. It's because Zerator isn't doing it for the Trackmania community. He's doing it for his community and the French community as a whole. The thing that frustrates me about that is coming from like, I know both sides, and I know that the Trackmania community, if they understood it a little bit better and if they had all the information, would just like embrace it so much more. And it's just a little bit disappointing. Like I would be more pushed to go practice for Ascension as just an open player, who would want to try and give it a go at qualifying for something. I'd be more pushed to practice the Ascension maps than practicing World Tour maps for regionals, because it just seems more attractive. I mean, personally, like in the background, I've been trying to push to get an English broadcast for the Ascension events, and I really hope we can make it happen, because the world, like the Zerator world and the events he does, it's such a, I don't know, the emotions that you feel. Like you saw, if for anybody who watched that last ZRT, like the scale of it, the emotions, how much the players want it, it's everything you hope for in a competitive scene. And so yeah, it's just, it's brilliant. I'm glad he's back. He's doing something, and I hope that the community as a whole can embrace it and can enjoy it, and not just the French side.
I mean, I've always said it. I think live esports are like, it's the best thing about esports because you just fill a stadium with people who are just happy to be there, like 90% of the time. Like, kind of doesn't matter what match is going on in most esports events. People will just be screaming anyway and like having a great time. The Rocket League major that happened in London in the Copper Box. I was there, and I was. Like, was it Sandrock versus Falcons or something? And like the entire crowd was cheering for both teams at the same time. Like, literally the chant was like, "Let's go Sandrock, let's go Falcons." And like, that's really fun. I love that about esports. And like, even more so in something like Trackmania, where, you know, people know who all of these top players are. Like, you know, they're very embedded in the community because like it has been such a community driven game for so long. People will just be there cheering for everyone, which is, it's great. It's a lot of fun. I love it. It's going to be great.
Yeah, and I wanted to ask Marcel as well, because I imagine you'll be covering it, and I'm wondering actually. Yeah, and I'd be wondering if you might actually have already some interviews prepared. I don't know. That is not a leak, by the way. But but what is your general feeling of how players are going to approach this? This is the last, well, likely to be the last event that Zerator is going to do in Trackmania. It's a chance for people to go down in history. You know, how do you think it's going to be approached by like the pro scene?
I feel like Zerator Cups, while they were sort of a for fun event up until now, they also held some sort of prestige to them. Like, winning it was still some sort of like, okay, this guy, it's kind of cool, right? It's kind of cool. So I feel like with this scale, with this new name, Ascension, it also like brings more of a I don't know the English word for that, but it doesn't matter, whatever. Like more prestige, I guess, to it. It just brings. I just feel that the whole event is structured in a way that people will definitely want to take part in it, and they definitely will take it more seriously than other iterations in the past. I think it's just being a part of some sort of a cycle of tournaments. I feel is more enticing than just a one-off tournament, and winning a cycle of tournaments is also more prestigious than just winning one off. And I feel like this. I talked to Bren already. Like, it was like one-off question on our interview last time, and he said that he wasn't really that excited. But which was surprising. He said that he will definitely try, but he wasn't that excited. But his reason was to just because he thought there will be more weight, like there will be more space between those events. Like there will be some time to just prepare for that. Like, and it was just a year, and he was like, okay, that's kind of fast. But I feel like when it comes to it, everyone will come excitedly to it, and they will definitely push for it, because it's probably the last time for a long time, at least, to play in something like that.
I like, especially once the first qualifier is done, anyone who's not excited by then, definitely going to be excited for the second qualifier, just seeing the event live. I want to just very briefly divert, because you've talked about how this is a series of events. The format has changed for next year. I genuinely am wondering if he's going to stick with like serious esports, or if he's planning to make the like it's Mario Party in 2024 or something. You know?
Oh, it's going to be Worms, the next edition.
Like, that's it, right?
I hope.
Yeah,
it's going to be very funny. Like, the Trackmania players are like this big prestigious event that we won in 2023, and then the 2024 winner is the best Worms player in the world, and you're like, yep.
But one thing that Zerator does love doing is giving attention to these smaller communities.
More niche communities, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And I think that's probably what drew him to Trackmania early
like,
on.
Unironically, I'm kind of half joking about stuff like that, but I could see it being something like Tetris, a game that has a very hyper competitive, smaller community. And like, I'd love to see like Tetris in a giant arena. Like, wouldn't that just be sick? Like, these guys who are insanely good playing in a massive arena. Like the music going, like the stages that he set up before. Like you have the entire Tetris screen underneath the stage, underneath them or something. Like,
it's already like a weird concept to my parents saying like about these like live events that you can watch in esports, and like the concept of like people going to watch people play something on a computer screen in front of you is like it's a weird concept. Maybe the idea of having Tetris, something they can
you would definitely have like the theme, and you would just have a stadium of like 15,000 people singing along to the Tetris like theme at the top of their voices. Like, what an all-time clip that would be.
I have a question because before we move on, because I guess we get
please
into
it.
Getting back to the question you asked me about them taking it seriously. Before I actually can fully answer it, I need to understand it fully. Is the donation money that's coming to the Raider, is it only the prize pool, or is it funding also the event?
I actually don't know.
So if
it's only prize pool, then it's gonna be big. So it definitely will add to it.
So the money that is donated is only the prize pool.
Okay.
And that's because, well, I mean, despite Raider being, a massive character, he only has like so many funds. So he's working closely with the production company that he works with for every event he does, which is called ZQSD, which one of our good friends, the Deployer, works with.
Shout out to Deployer.
Shout out to Deployer, who will be working on the Ascension stuff as well. And they're the people who make this incredible stuff. And so he funds that part most likely. And then he wanted, obviously, a way to make this event have a big prize pool, give it a sense of a community-driven thing, so everybody could be a part of it. And like he's given away nearly half of his like subscription money for a month, pretty much, and that's going straight to the prize pool. And by the way, in 9 days, that prize pool reached $30,000, and it's going to surpass anything we've ever seen in TM 2020. The only little like asterisk about it is that it's going to be split across the 3 events. So like one part will be for the first one, and then the second part for the second one, and then the grand finals will have the majority. And then what's kind of nice is, so from the first event, there will be 16 players going to the LAN, and then top 8 from that will be qualified to the last event. The second event will have another 16, maybe some who didn't qualify, and then those 8 will go to the last event, and then those final 16. And whoever makes it to that final, their like trip to the final is going to be paid for by the organization and everything, and then they're going to compete for the big chunk of the money.
Yeah, so knowing all that, as I said, it definitely adds to the like serious approach from the players. Like people want to win some money always, so it's definitely something that we have to consider. Yeah,
it's also interesting because I think this is basically the only like crowd-funded prize pools are not a new thing in esports, but like Valve does it for like Dota, right? Like they do it with selling cosmetics and stuff in game, and because there's no microtransactions in Trackmania, it's much harder for Nadeo to do something similar themselves. Like maybe they could sell a limited edition card thing with the understanding that you're buying it specifically to support the funding for a world championship or something, but a streamer can do it because it is just a subscription. So it is nice to see him also leveraging something that really no one else in the community can do as well. I know Magi has kind of done it as well in the past and stuff, but very much it is something that is quite streamer specific in Trackmania, or creator specific. We should definitely move on.
Yeah, this first section was supposed to be the shortest.
There was a lot to talk about. There was a lot to talk about.
It was written down as like a quick 30-minute segment, just a quick brush over console. Don't worry about it. No biggie.
Yeah. Obviously, Nu is very hyped to move on to the next section because he's seen others go before him. But now it is Nu's time to face the Cuppa quiz.
No. You can't do this to me, Babz.
I mean, I'm going to take pleasure in doing it, and hopefully producer Chris can switch us over to the quiz section. And Marcel, I don't know if you've watched any of the previous episodes, but this is where kids become grown adults. This is where like boys become men and girls become women, because this is the central stage of where you're going to be tested on your knowledge of a specific topic, which you shouldn't know about in advance, but you probably do.
Where do our fields of spheres of interest
I don't
overlap?
know.
That's crazy. See, I think, look, we're assuming it's going to be Challenger League, right? I forget everything that has happened the second that I turn off the broadcast. Like, my short-term memory carries me through, and it is gone afterwards.
If it's Challenger League, I am doomed.
Babz, this is going to be the first ever 0-0 that you've had on the quiz.
I'm getting flashbacks to Jorday versus Wizzy, and both of them being like, huh? And I mean, you're going to be very. I mean, the topic is Challenger League. There you go. Yeah. It was my day off work. I was sitting in the sun and I was thinking, these guys, they deserve to suffer a little bit. And I'm going to make it a
challenging. Oh boy.
Okay.
Butchering the English language like I'm about to butcher these questions.
Well, I mean, speaking of the questions, let's just get right into it now. Before we do, as is a tradition on the Cuppa quiz, I'm going to need both of you to choose a buzzer. The way we're going to do that is you're going to select one of the sounds which is on the Discord soundboard.
Oh my god.
It's an animal. I gotta go with the duck. And the cricket, I've seen this before, all right? I know that if you go with the cricket, it doesn't start as strong as some of the other noises. And so therefore you lose in the tight races, even when you did click it first, all right?
Did you find where it is, Marcel? It is just beside the option to share your screen or turn on your camera.
Okay, it's got the little music note, and it's beside the rocket.
Okay, I see. Is it this? Oh, wait, okay, I just...
Hey, there we are.
Yeah, I'm testing out, let me hear them. Okay, I'm gonna go with okay, that's the one.
And like get your cursor on that, because you will have to click it to buzz in to answer the question. And
all right, I'm sitting up in my chair. I'm ready.
Are you going for the cricket?
No, I'm sticking with the quack. No, it starts stronger than the cricket. Like, listen, just want to, like, you listen to the cricket. It's like it's a little bit soft at the start, And if Marcel comes in hot with the drums, I'm getting lost under that if I use the cricket.
Solid strategies, even just in the buzzer section. We haven't even gotten into the questions, and the rivalry is tense. Now, we are going to have 4 initial questions, which are going to be buzzer questions. I will set out the rules to start off. Each question is going to be worth 2 points. You can buzz in at any point. I'm going to be asking the question. If you want to buzz in after I've said one word, then you can. But a little reminder that if you lose or if you say the wrong answer, the question will be passed on to your opponent, and they will have the chance to steal 1 point. So, yeah. So normally a question is worth 2 points. If it is passed on, it is worth 1 point.
Do we have time limit after buzzing?
It depends on my patience.
Okay. Yeah,
just buzz on the first word and then hope for the best.
I know that there was
stay silent.
Can't finish this game show if I never say another word.
I will pass it on if you fail to give me an answer quick enough.
All right.
All right. We're just going to get into question number 1, and this is going to be a buzzer question. So we have seen a total of 20 maps in TM World Tour. I'm talking about the hard versions thus far. But only 2 world records are held by Challenger League players in live matches. Which maps have Challenger League world records on them?
Ooh.
Nualaoch.
Freestyle?
Freestyle is one of them. And now I don't need the player, I just need the map.
I don't think there's any in the new map pack. Is it Reps?
Is that your final answer?
That is my final answer. I think Scrappy has the world record on Reps.
Reps is wrong, unfortunately.
Whoa.
The second one, I feel like you're going to kick yourself for this one because it was quite common knowledge towards the end. The second one is Aero Pipes, and it was held by Dexter.
Oh, yeah.
And,
I wanted to say Slowdown, so I didn't know. I didn't think the stage 1 like comes into it. I just I didn't.
Because it was the end of stage one. It was the end of stage one that all of the world record, when the regular season ended for both, a lot of the records were Challenger League. But then in the playoffs, obviously the Grand League took a lot of them back.
Yeah,
I was
surprised.
hearing the question and I was dumbfounded. What? They have no world records right now. There's no shot they have world records
There's also
right now.
it was the
stage
sinuous world record was Challenger League for a hot second there, but that was only because Grand League just hadn't played the map.
I think Gwen has that now or something.
It's not anymore. At the moment, there's not. I mean, also Grand League started before Challenger League for stage 2, and it was the same for stage 1. So it makes sense that the time when Challenger League catches up a little bit is after the full season.
Yeah. So unfortunately, since that that question had multiple answers, it's not going to be passed on. So nobody is going to get points from.
I don't get 1 point there.
One.
What is rigged? Get in the chat. All right.
No. I will not have it. Every time I do this, somebody says it's rigged. Okay, we're going to move swiftly on to question number 2 and hopefully get some points on the board. Remember, buzz in whenever you want. So as we know, Gyroscope was never picked in TMCL in stage 1. But which map had the highest pick rate? I heard but quack. So it's gonna be Marcel answering this one.
I'm gonna just take a wild guess and I'm gonna say Slowdown.
I mean, your wild guesses are very close to home because that is the right answer.
Yeah.
Including regular season and playoffs. Slowdown was
a
picked
90 something.
It
was it 100%?
No, I think it was exactly 90. It was picked at 37 times out of a possible 41.
Yeah.
So
it was the most basic map, so people were not either banning it and they were just prioritizing it a lot.
Yeah, I've said I'm kind of surprised that we're not seeing more of Grip for that reason as well, because in terms of the identity, specifically, it feels very similar to Slowdown, where it is just car control. If you're driving it safely, there's no chance to fail, But I guess it's the rest of the map players just aren't as up on as they were on the rest of Slowdown.
So that is 2 points to Marcel for the right answer. And I mean, if that was a wild guess, I mean, he might just be hyping himself up by saying,
he's getting in my head.
Got the right answer off the cuff, But that is a 2-point lead for Marcel. We're going to go into question number 3, and Nua, your chance to gain some points back. It is a buzzer question again. So, alternate attacks have only lost 1 game across both stages of TMCL, but who defeated them? Marcel is quick on the drum.
Wasn't it Sprout in stage 1?
That's the wrong answer. Oh, that's the wrong answer. Nua, you've got a shot at getting a point back here.
Unfortunately, they're not in the Challenger League anymore, because I'm pretty sure it was Fine Name Racing.
I mean, said with confidence because you knew the answer. That is 1 point to Mr. Nualaoch. And yeah, that came on play day 2 in stage 1. Schweinheim, I think, winning 4-2 on that occasion. It's just surprising. It's a pity we've lost them now because they were one.
They started hot in stage 1.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, alternate attacks have not lost any match except for that one. That's just impressive.
It's insane.
All right, so the gap is reduced to 1 point going into question number 4, and this one again is worth 2 points. It's on the buzzer. So the final of TM Challenger League playoffs were played between alternate attacks and Sprouts, with alternate attacks taking the W. But on what map did they close it out? He's gonna try it.
All right, it's going to be a wild guess, and I'm going to go purely off what map ended up. Was it a 4-0 in the final match? You don't need to answer that, but I know it would have been around map 4 or 5, and I'm trying to figure out what map was usually picked around map 4 or 5, and I feel like it could have been something like Reps, possibly, because Sprout would have been second pick if it was a 4-0. Then they probably would have picked Reps. I'm just going to go with Reps.
I mean, an interesting train of thought, and you've stuck with Reps again, but unfortunately, it has deceived you once again. It is not right.
I never liked Reps.
Marcel, you're nodding your head. Is that because you know the answer, or?
No, it's because I would have said Reps also, but now I have it.
I should have let you go first.
Now I have a chance to say something different. And
if he gets it wrong, can I have a second chance?
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Yeah, just keep passing it back until we get to the end of the.
We'll get there
I'm
eventually.
gonna
There's only 10
say-
maps. We can definitely remember all 10 maps between us as well.
I'm gonna say, let's think. It's definitely not gyro.
It might have been gyro. I wouldn't rule it out yet.
I'm bouncing between two options, but I'm gonna stick to one. I'm gonna say parkour.
Fuck off, man. I'm sorry for swearing, but that's the right answer again.
Was
Let's
that
go.
was that the match where Scrappy did his flip to snipe and it wasn't enough? Was that in the
Yeah.
finals?
I think it was in the finals. That match did end 4-1. It was a poor performance, I think, in the final by Sprout and alternate attacks were just.
What was map
they
4
always were.
out of interest?
Map 4, I believe, was Slippy Slides, if I'm not
Oh,
mistaken.
that
Okay.
was my
Sure,
that was my
sure.
second thing I was thinking, but yeah, I
Yeah.
stuck with parkour.
I would guess that Reps was second then. I don't know.
Yeah, but parkour
I'll
was
look
the
it up
map,
after.
and I mean,
I'm getting smashed.
Nua, I'm not gonna lie, I might be rigging the questions here because the last one was supposed to be worth 1 point, but I'm just reading it again and I'm thinking that's not worth 1 point. I'm gonna up it to 2
That was a
points.
difficult question, to be fair. Yeah.
That was a difficult question, so you're quite unlucky to lose out on that, and especially if Marcel is just guessing every time and getting it right.
No, that's just the mental warfare. He knows he's inside my head and he's rent free in there.
I got it.
All right, producer Chris is kind of throwing me under the bus on the screen, but
No, he is. That's just an accurate description of what's happening.
But I mean, everybody's used to it by now, and you still ask for it time and time again. So here we are anyway. But the last question is not going to be on the buzzer, and it is going to be closest wins. So I'm going to ask a question. You're both going to have time to answer it. I'm going to make Marcel go first, and Nua will answer second. But yeah, I'm just going to read out the question, and you have to tell me a number and the closest wins. So during stage 1 of Trackmania Challenger League regular season, how many 4-0 results did we see out of a possible 28? So there were 28 matches in the regular season. How many of those ended 4-0? I will give you a
regular
bit of
season
time.
only.
Regular
only.
season. Well, the thing is, in playoffs, it couldn't, the overall score.
Yeah. Okay. So let me think a bit. Like, how many teams could be so dominant that they just close out in 4? Definitely ATX. Sprout could have done it in some scenarios coming up soon. So I'm gonna say 4. I'm just gonna say 4.
I know for a fact that I'm getting these points, Babs.
Really?
I do, because there's 4 already with just Easy Dream, who got beaten 4-0 in the last 4 matches that they played. And I know there was at least one more than that. So 5.
And I mean, the train of thought is solid. It started off solid with Marcel, but it's even more solid.
For an actual guess, I think there was probably 8 or 9. I would go with probably 8 total.
I can tell you that you are 1 off, and it was 7. Honestly, I'm impressed by both of you, and both of you, you're thinking throughout that question. But that is going to be 2 points to Alex. Sounds weird calling you Alex, but that is 2 points to Nua. He is going to tie it up at 3-3 at the end. Yeah, it was 7 4-0s throughout the regular season. 4 of those
were Easy Dream.
Yeah, 4 of those were Easy Dream, and 4 of them also came between Playday 4 and Playday 5. I don't know if you remember that sort of short segment where we saw a lot of 4-0s where it was Challenger League or Grand League. So yeah,
and it looked like we were about to see Sprout get hit with another one, and that was a week 5. They pulled off their reverse sweep as well, which is we very nearly saw another one.
But yeah, I think in conclusion, a very good fight between the two of you. I think we had an excellent first season of Challenger League. Second season it started off just as well. So yeah, hopefully it'll be just as enjoyable as this quiz has been for me, at least. Thank you very much, both of you, for participating.
I had a great time, Babz.
As I said, I was going to do great, and I did.
We both did great. You know what, Marcel? Honestly, firm
Everyone
handshakes
wins.
all around. Everyone gets a pat on the back for that one. You know what? Golf clap. Absolutely.
Let's go. Yeah.
Well deserved. We are going to move on. Thank you again, Babz, for running a quiz and not making me look too stupid. Very kind of you to send me the questions ahead of time. And I think I did a really good job of throwing to make it look like Marcel was still in it. And let's talk a little bit about the World Tour in general and how things are going there, because up in the Grand League especially, the results have kind of been all over the place from, I think, what we kind of expected coming into stage 2.
It has been interesting. They have made a fool of us because in our last episode, was it our last episode or second last episode, we did a tier list trying to predict how Grand League would finish. And yeah, it's not going well for us really at all. I think the big losers in that were Big Clan, and unfortunately Massa and Grenadi, no fault of my own, I'm sure, became aware of our tier list on Twitter. And then I guess that fueled them to go 4-0 and are first in Grand League at the moment.
Oh yeah, we can
They
definitely
should
take
be
credit for
thanking
that.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know why I haven't been signed as a coach yet.
Exactly.
Yeah, Jorday, were you were adding something there, were you?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we were pretty in the mud on those predictions. I mean, it's surprising. It still surprises me how big have done this well. I mean, no one expected it, right? I mean, after the first season, for them to go from where they were to now is a big shock, if anything. And I'm curious as to what people credit to, really. I'm wondering if they're just, better chemistry, or if maybe the addition of Amaterasu has been the changing point. You never know, really. I think, having a guy like Amaterasu behind you and motivating you and coaching you would help anyone, really. He's a great guy. But I'm curious as to what you guys think.
I mean, I can tell you exactly what happened.
Well, I'll give my answer first, and then Marcel can tell what. I'm pretty sure Massa did his map discovery and has not. The rage has just fueled him ever since.
I mean, that's a great explanation, but I think I have a better source because it came from Massa himself directly. And yeah, he said that the big change that the big change that they made was that they are not practicing online and on streams anymore.
Yeah.
They have made a change, and it was like, it's with great benefits to them. They're having better focus. They're doing they did the discovery together, and they were training together on the bootcamp, and that's why we have 2 German clones on the track. I think I want to push that as their nickname in the future.
Clones.
Yeah, the German clones.
Oh, I like it.
That's the one. But yeah, it's the offline training, and I guess implementing Amaterasu into their staff is also a great addition. He's helping them with saving time, like creating their practice maps. They don't have to burden themselves with this. He's I don't remember exactly what his all responsibilities are, but Masa said that he's very helpful and a great fit for them. So far, that's pretty much what happened between stage 1 and stage 2.
I think I raised the point a while ago during stage 1 when it wasn't going so well for them, whether or not the streaming aspect of it and kind of being a pro player as well as being a kind of stream personality, if it has an impact on that. I think it was when we had Pack on, and we didn't really have an answer to it back then, but it kind of makes sense now going into stage 2, seeing how well they're doing. Is that like in stage 1 they might have been Grenadi might have been recruited by Big. It makes sense for them. He's another German player. Has quite a good following, and pairing him with Massa, it's a really good duo for them. And they probably wanted to push that kind of streaming aspect and get a bit more of an audience and a following in that first stage. And then after a poor performance, that doesn't really make sense anymore. Maybe going into stage 2, you remember, well, wait a minute, my first priority is I'm a pro player here, and I'm supposed, not supposed to. I am good at what I do. And really, it kind of seems like they've done that, like Massa streams when he feels like it. You see that the boot camps that they've been doing, it seems like there's a lot of chemistry there, and they've really built a kind of a bond. And I'm super happy for them. Like, I'm really glad to see these two guys doing well and being at the top.
Yeah,
Great.
I find it funny that it started like before the World Cup last year. Like Granadi posted a tweet where he said that he had like a dream where Masta was sat beside him on the stage of World Cup, and he was distracting him with his wheel. So now we are here with them on the same team, doing just that. But yeah, it's kind of crazy that it turned out this way after nearly a year. So yeah, but I think it's a great fit. But also, I remembered something that Masa said about fans, like not believing in them after stage one, or rather doubting them. Like people, he said people tend to forget the previous years, the longevity of their success, like them finishing top fours, top eights at World Cups like consistently, and like like one of series doesn't really make them worse players. It just makes it a stepping stone on their path to like improve and get better. And we see it just unfold before us. So, yeah,
I think it is that as well. Like, I mean, when we did our predictions, we were basing it off of like previous forms, so it's like stage one, and how we kind of saw reactions to maybe losses and stuff like that. Like I remember I said that Sinners were going to do quite good, or maybe might surprise people, at least in this stage, just because I saw their mentality wasn't affected too much by the concurrent losses that they had in stage one. But yeah, you do kind of forget then that like Massa has been a pro player for a long time. Like, he knows this. He's been in and out of the pro scene, and he's been up there at the top and has fallen down before and has had to pick himself back up. So he knows what he's doing. And I think having the support of an organization like Big behind them, and having a teammate in Granadi, like, he also had a tweet a while ago saying like, why am I the only German pro player in this game? And then he finally got Granadi, and now they're finally showing, like, they're not putting Germany on the map, because it's quite firmly already there, but at least asserting their position as a top duo.
And just to circle back to a point that we raised at the top of the day, and then kind of came up there again about players wanting to stream at the same time as playing, but how that may detract from performance a little bit. I'd love to see more focus on the players in all of the World Tour content itself, rather than players having to build their brand outside. And Marcel, that's again something, where you've done a lot of work outside that as well. But it'd be great to see, whether pre-recorded interviews or live interviews after match, I'd love to see more of that style of content, and putting the players front and center and giving them a chance to kind of build a following without feeling like they have to put in, multiple hour streams multiple days a week in order to build that.
Yeah, we were actually doing that like with TM the Trackmania Water. I'm not meaning in the future right now. There were actually interviews posted on their Twitter, and some of them on YouTube that I had a part of in creating, some of them, majority of them. So there were some attempts. I don't see them happening right now, and now I'm not part of the team currently, but I hope they will keep doing that. And hey, if they want like post match interviews,
listen,
like
Marcel, we'll slide some bootleg ones onto the Challenger League stream. Honestly, I don't think they pay any attention to what's going on to us over there. Okay, we can slip something in. All right.
Okay, we got it.
We'll get the interview by just donating repeatedly to Scrappy and getting answers from him, and record all that. Perfect. Genius. I've got it all figured out. Yeah, look, obviously there was a few other upsets, there's been some performances. I mean, Jorday, was there any of the matches in particular that stood out to you this week where you're like, what's going on there then?
I mean, all the matches are a few standout ones, of course. There's obviously the G1 KC match. Or at least the one that ended 4-3 to KC.
A bit.
And what's interesting with that is, despite how impressive,
Just to cut in, Twitch chat is saying we don't have audio for the last a minute, I guess.
Oh,
I don't know how true that is.
chat, are you lying to us? Chat, are you
It's
playing a
back.
prank? Okay.
It was
Chat
a prank,
lies
wasn't
to
it?
our
They hear
face. You
this
got to
all the
remember
time.
that Twitch chat, like, it's made up of normal people, but collectively, they are filthy liars. Sorry, Babz, you were saying something. It was probably much more intelligent than whatever I was saying.
I mean, I'll try and make it more intelligent. But
Also, can you please paraphrase the previous 5 minutes of the discussion for everyone?
So basically, G1 KC was a super cool match. Endings were kind of Gwen is a beast, and Binks, if he improves a little bit, G1 can be quite the force to be reckoned with. And to continue from that, I wanted to say that G1 exactly can be a force to be reckoned with, because if Binks picks it up and gets to a level where he can be competitive and winning more rounds, and not be depending on Gwen as much, then they can really be a contender at the highest level. I mean, a lot of this depends on stages and depends on maps and player preference and stuff like that. But if we look at G1's previous results, 3 of their matches out of the 4 for the moment have ended 4-3. So they've all been super competitive and gone to that last map. I mean, they lost 4-3 against Big in Playday 1, and then they beat Alliance, who've been impressing a lot of people as well.
Mhm.
And then they've also just recently lost to KC. So it's a bit all over the place. And as you said, it depends on just depends on if Gwen is on it on the day or if he isn't. And it's frustrating because you can really see the potential there. And as a duo, if they can kind of gel, well, at least if things can pick it up, then
I mean, that's exactly the keyword we're looking for, the potential. Like, when we are looking at the potential of the team of G1 and comparing it to the other top 2 teams in the league that are Alliance and Big so far, I think G1 has like infinitely bigger potential, to be honest. Like, they would crush if both of them were on the peak form, but so far we don't really see it. Gwen sometimes is shaky, Binks is just not up to par, and we have 4-3s all around.
There is, I think, a couple of teams across the World Tour, Grand League and Challenger League both, where there is one player who's just not quite delivering up to maybe the potential that they do have, right? And one player is putting in a lot of heavy lifting as a result. We didn't see any duos swap up in the break between stage 1 and stage 2. I'm curious if anyone thinks, like, look, stage 2 is ending not too far in the future. It'll be a while before we get, the next full season. Are we going to see a lot of returning duos? Is there going to be big shift ups in the break then? Are we going to see, orgs dropping players? Is it going? I don't know. It's just something, because this is a very new format. This team format of duos is kind of brand new, and obviously the first team to do it, I think, is going to be under a lot of scrutiny.
It's hard to say, right? I think part of me thinks that the orgs want to stick with what they have, but there's a lot of promising prospects in in TMCO and below. I mean, alternate attacks. Those two. Is it Scandir?
Yeah, Scandir's been a monster. Yeah. Although he's had a slower start to stage 2. I would have said, like, after stage 1, like, an easy pickup for, like, if you were kind of struggling a bit as a duo. Like, Scandir seemed like he would be an upgrade over some players in the Grand League, but maybe in stage 2 a little bit less of the same story.
Yeah, I think it's like less of a who are they going to drop. It's more of like who they're going to drop them for, right? Like who's actually available to swap for, and if it's not a direct swap with another TMGL player, that is. But yeah, I think the main candidates are obviously alternate attacks.
Yeah, I think that Trackmania overall is like a community where it's a very loyal community, I would say.
That's what that's kind of it. It's going to be very difficult for anyone to drop a player.
There is a lot of friendship going around. We are all friends in here. There's maybe no beef, but mostly there is no beef. Very limited and quite it's not like all over the place. People don't really shout about it. That's why I think orgs, like, this is not a cutthroat environment like it would be in other, like, major esports. Like, League is just throwing players out when they have a bad week. Like,
it's also like 5 players versus 2 is like, it's a lot easier to cut 20% of your team than it is to cut 50% of your team.
I mean, I swear they added the third split into LEC just so they can make more swaps.
Yeah.
So that is the theory. And when we're talking Trackmania World Tour, I do see people making changes. I do see organizations making some swaps, but limited, very limited. I don't think. First, I think they can, like, between seasons change the whole team, but I don't think any would do that. I think they would, like, leave the carry player and switch for the other one, and, like, of course those are only speculations. We have I have no insider info or anything like that, but looking at the whole league as it is right now, like, the main candidate is, for example, like, it's gonna we're gonna throw a bit of shade here and there, but when we look at ITB, we are looking at Mime that is really, really trying. He's really trying. He got top 2 in last World Cup. He carried stage 1 for them. Well, not entirely. Like, Elcon had his gems like parkour and stuff, but so far when we're looking at stage 2, stuff like that, and we see Elcon, for example, like, not competing at all at level that he's supposed to, we can see that it can definitely make that spark to, okay, we gotta change something. So that is definitely one area I see the change can be done. There are definitely options, but so far, loyalty in Trackmania, we will see. Other teams, I really don't see an option. Like, we see Big, like, it's Granady and Master, they're not gonna split. We see Solari, it's Carl and Puck, they're not gonna split. We see Sinners, it's Twin and Cuppa. Like, those are dynamic duos. Like, we cannot split them apart, or at least not as fast. So that's what I think so far about the swaps that we might see at the end of the season.
Yeah, I think Marcel was kind of like reading my mind at the start there. Like, there's a lot of friendships within Trackmania, so until the stakes actually get higher and the scene develops a little bit more, I don't think it makes too much sense in changing it. And I say that as a person who really wants to see transfers happen. I love seeing like
bit of drama, bit of stories, like
yeah, but because it is a sign as well that orgs and
are taking it
rosters
seriously
and want to win.
Yeah.
They're not content in being the last place and just getting a few views.
It's not just happy to be here. We got our participation medal, and
Exactly.
it was fun. Like, no, we want to build a roster that can do damage here.
Yeah, and that's I want to see that. I want to see that, but I think in the early stages, at least of TM World Tour, we might see it a lot less. We'll see it at the lower ranks. We could see it in some Challenger League teams. Obviously, we're seeing it already in regionals. Exalti have just picked up a second duo who are competing in regionals, and if they make it to Challenger League, what then? That's an interesting kind of topic. And I think as things progress, as more players come into the game, as the community gets bigger, as the prize pools get bigger, and the incentive to actually do better gets bigger, then we'll probably see a lot more transfers happening. And that's something I want to see. I want to see, this player has had a poor season, but his teammate, like, as you're saying with Mime and ITV, has been really performing. And if only he had somebody else. Oh, but look, this guy who's been playing regionals, he's really good. What if we gave him a shot or something like that? And and we might see more beef because of it. But at the same time, it's competitive gaming. You're supposed to be trying to win. You're not supposed to be just taking part. So hopefully, as it progresses, we'll see more of that.
Yeah, and I think that's actually a nice circular note to kind of round things out on, right? As things grow, new players come in, it's going to drive more engagement with the pro scene, which is going to make everything get bigger, which is going to make it more exciting as teams start to do anything that they can to start to win, which is only going to drive engagement further and bring more players back. And we're hoping that that is a positive loop, and things like the console release are going to feed into that. And I think we've managed to put a bow on everything there and tie it up very nicely. So unless anyone has anything kind of final to add on to that as well, I think we have managed to do an episode.
Yeah, I think we've done quite well, despite the fact I feel like on every topic we've covered everything, but we could have talked for a half an hour.
Absolutely, yeah. We're keeping it tight though, okay, Babz?
Yeah.
That's we're keeping it nice and neat.
But how about I'll say it now, and in a few weeks' time we'll get Marcel back if he's happy to do so, and we'll do a continuation of this, because I think this has been
absolutely no, sounds like a great time. Marcel, thank you very much for joining us here tonight as well. Do you want to shout out your Twitter, where people can find you? I know the YouTube channel, as we mentioned at the top. How do people get you there?
First of all, thank you for having me. Thank you for our invite. And you can follow me on Twitter. It's exactly as you see on the screen, I think, at Marcel Roszyk. You can find me on YouTube also under the same name. You can be on the lookout because an interview is coming out tomorrow. I even will spoil with who. It's Soldier after his great match against Solari. So definitely something to look out for. And yes, again, thank you for having me. It was a great talk, and in the future we gotta talk more about Trackmania World Tour. I'm all here for that.
Yep.
We need to talk about.
There was just too many other things happening in the last week, like console release, Ascension, the rest of it. Like, it's just we don't have enough time to cover every topic all the time. But that's why there's an episode most weeks. Okay, we'll be back. There will be more in the future. Once again, thank you very much, Marcel, Babz, and Jorday. A pleasure as always. Thank you very much for everyone who has tuned in or who is listening to this back sometime in the distant future. We hope you're all having a lovely day, and we'll see you back for another episode in the near future.